Very good morning to one and all. So, previous session we discussed about the parallel concept. So, how the parallel things is to be happened by executing your program. So, along with the apart with the fun that. So, we will start at in the earlier session we started with the conditional statements. So now we started the another concept which is very much useful while writing your parallel programs. That is how to write your parallel program by using the loop concept. So now let us start with another one which is very much useful while writing your programs when you are having the logical sections, when you're writing the logical sections in your scripting languages. There you have the choice of using this parallel programming by using this loop concept. So now in this session, we've started how the what are the different kinds of loops are available while writing your parallel program. So and what are the advantages of using this parallel loop concept in your scripting languages. We know very well about loops. So what is the purpose of having loops in your programming logic? So what is the necessity of having the loop code while writing your scripts? Very much needed while writing your parallel script. So no need to write multiple times. So if you want to execute any block of code to be multiple number of times, then you can choose the concept called as a parallel loops concept. So you know very familiar about the loops. So many different kinds of loops are available in the previous programming examples, like for, while, each, do, while. So those loops are also available in the parallel programming concepts here. So now let us try to understand what is the purpose of using this loop concept and how it is used. What are the syntax for creating the different set of loops here? So for loop, while, for each, do, while, and we may nested loop. You know very well about the nested loop. So loop within the loop, we can call it as a nested loop. So those type of control structures that are allowed to execute this computation set. Whenever the code is to be repeated many number of times, you don't have to write again and again. For reducing the code, just use one thing, which is useful to write the program. So my బాగా తెలిసిన విషయం ఏంటంటే loop అనగానే, so very familiar about the loop concept, what we learned in the previous programming languages, whether in C or C++ or Java, the same concept here also, but the representation and the structure of representing the loops in particularly the parallel scripting is to be somewhat different compared to the previous languages. But remaining the same concept, the same thing will be happen here also while writing your parallel scripts. Okay. So now let us try to understand what is the need of having this loop concept. So whenever you want to execute a block of code multiple number of times, so which means one piece of code is to be executed more number of times. That code you need not to write again and again for reducing the purpose. So just use that code. You use that code in particular loop. How many number of times that code is to be executed for some specific condition. So in that case, so just started with the loop concept here. So this is the actual the flow chart for having this control. You are controlling the flow. So you're controlling the flow of your program. So a flow of your code. So whenever the condition is satisfied, the below part of the code is to be executed, or otherwise out of the loop is to be executed. As the same to what we are discussing in the conditional statements, here also the same concept is applicable. So now here the parallel programming languages provide the following types of loops to handle the looping requirement. So you know very well about the predefined some loops are available in while writing your program. So you know very familiar about the while loop as well as do while and for. Here along with the for we have one more is there, which is for each, and the second thing is also until loop is also there. So those things will be discussed. Here I am highlighting with some colors. So let us observe the different types of loops that are available in the current programming script. So here the first one will be the until loop, and the second one will be the while, as well as for about this for loop and for each. So which is these two are very new to you, for the for each as well as until loop. It's very similar to the previous loops of the don't bother about that. And as the same way do while loop. So it's about this do while And lastly we have the nested loops here. So nested loops is also very familiar. So loop within the loop you may write for within while or while within for. So according to your functionality, so you just need to write your loop concepts with the help of these following types here, in particularly in Perl scripting. So here the first thing will be the while loop until for each do while, and just try to remember what are the different types of loops are available while handling the loop requirements in Perl. So what are the different types? That types will be the while loop, until, for each, as the same way do while, and along with the nested loop. So these are the different types of loops are available in your scripting languages, especially in the Perl scripting languages. The syntax will be very much similar to the previous programming languages. Just little bit of variation is there while writing your script. Just then the thing will be go through while you reading the session. So here the syntax for writing the while loop. So we started with the while loop. So repeatedly execute the target statement. So when the condition is satisfying, the below code is to be executed unless and condition satisfies. If the condition is false, the execution is come out of the loop. So this is the same concept what we studied in the previous exam programming languages. So here also the same concept. So the representation of while will be within the keyword which is called as a while keyword, along with some specific condition, and when this condition satisfies the below code, in between these braces the code is to be executed. So here again saying the number 0, the string and the empty string and empty list and defined comes under the false values, the remaining will comes under the true value. So here this is the flow chart for representing the while loop here. So how the while loop is to be executed, that is to be represented in Korean representation. So this is the condition what we are writing in between in the code. So if the condition is satisfies, then the following block of code is executed unless and until this loop terminates. When it terminates, the condition fails only, then the program the loop will terminate out of the loop. So when condition is failed, the following statement is to be executed. So this is the sample example which related to your while statements here. So now let us check with some sample code here. So try to execute that code. So just make it so while loop here. So this is the while loop here. So very simple 3 line of code which is to be represented. So I declare and initialize a variable with 10. So declare and initializing with the variable 10, which means the value 10 is to be assigned to the particular variable A, which is scalar variable. So I just want to check the condition or control the structure. So with this condition, so 10 which is less than 20. When this condition satisfies, in between that code is to be printed multiple number of times until and unless this loop fails. So here the value of A is equal to how much 10, then the value will be implemented again 11 less than 20, 12 less than 20. So until unless and until 20 less than 20. So here up to 19, the output will be updated from 19 here. So try to execute that code. So the final name itself will be the Perl while Perl space while dot pl here. So here the output will be from 10 to 90. 10 to 90. Here the variable what I am assigned is 10. The condition is satisfying, the value will be incremented by 1. It will print up to 19 because why? Because the conditions, the operators what we are using here, that operator have the syntax of less than 20 here, less than 20, which is nothing but below 20. So up to 19, the value will be updated. So same whatever you learned in the previous session. So now it's very interesting how to use this until loop statement in the Perl program. Repeatedly executes a target statement as long as the given condition is possible. Simple difference comparing to the while and this until statement. So let me just have a look into this flow chart here. So this flow chart will, this condition is whenever the condition is, see here the simple difference here, when this condition is false, then block of code is to be executed. When the condition is true, the block of the code will be getting out of the loop here. So Here, the key point of the until loop is that the loop might not ever run when the condition is tested and the result is true. The loop body will be skipped, and the first condition after the until loop will be executed. Very simple. But when the condition is tested and the result is true, the loop body will be skipped. If condition true అవుతుందో ఆ కండిషన్ ట్రూ అయ్యేంత వరకు లూప్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతూ ఉంటుంది. అంటే ఫాల్స్ కేసులో ఉన్నంత వరకు the code is to be executed. That's why here the representation in the flowchart will be whenever the false condition is appearing, the loop will iterate. Whenever the condition gets true, then it come out of the until loop. So for that, we have another example which related to the loop. So see here. So I'm sending the value 5 here. So after the 5 greater than 10, bring the value of a dollar of a slash n, so it will be 5 greater than, which is the false statements here. But if the false statements is appear, the until will execute, right? So then the value will be value of a is equal to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 is also fail. Why? Because you are not giving any 10 greater than or equal. So here 10 greater than 10 is also false statement. So then the output will be displayed from 5 to 10. Whenever the 11 appear, 11 greater than 10, which means the condition is true. When the condition is true, this loop came out of the until statement. So just quite reverse to the while only. So where in the case of the while, if the condition is true, the part of the code is to be executed. Where in the case of until, if the condition is false, the part of the code is to be executed. When the condition is getting true, it will came out of the loop. That try to remember that point, which is very important. So some cases we are using this until statements here. So now let us check the sample code here. So how to execute this until statement. So here is the representation here. So 5, which is the 5 of, I'm initializing the 5 integer value is a particular variable a. Just I am using the until is a keyword which you represented while write your script. So if you want to write your looping statements with the help of the until, the syntax will be the until. Here is the condition. If the condition is failed, the part of the code is to be executed 5 greater than 10, which is false. Then the part of the code is executed, enter the 5, then implement the value. Again, check the value 6 greater than 10, 7 greater than 10, 8 greater than 10, 9 greater than 10, 10 greater than 10 is also false. It returns false. Then the value will be printed from 5 to 10. Whenever the value increments to the 11, then a condition getting true, when the condition is getting true, it will came out of the loop here. So this is how to write your until statement. So now try to execute this particularly this statement. How to do this program name itself will be the until.pl here. So until.pl here. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So as you check, we are initializing the value 8 to the 5 and incremental up to the 10. This after the value will be 11, then only the output will be, then only the loop will be terminated. Why? Because this until statements appear only when the exists only when the condition is true. If the condition is true, then it came out of the loop. So that is the simple difference between the while loop as well as until loop here. So now all of you, let us try to recalculate the previous looping structures. Very useful to write your for loop repetition in your control statements. So control structures, you know, the initialization, condition, and increment. The same thing here also we are representing, you know, their PERL scripting languages. So initialization, what are the initialization that are needed? That is to be represented with the help of this for control structure initialization. After that, what are the condition you need? That condition, and then if the condition is true, then the value the below part of code is executed. After the executing the part, the value will be incremented. The same loop is repeated unless and until this condition fails. This init step is executed only once. Why? Because whenever the loop execution starts, the value is to be initialized to the particular variables. After that, the remaining two elements, which is a condition and increment, is to be executed. For loop. So here also we can same thing also. So just have try to understand this sample code. Here the condition, then the condition is to block of code is to be executed. Again, that increment part is to be happen. Again, the loop will iterate unless and until this condition is false. Whenever the condition is false, it came out of the loop. So here now try to check with another sample code. So which is very simply, so just initializing the variable. So this part is only executed once and this part is executed unless and until condition is become false. Okay, so here dollar of a, which is nothing but, so I'm sending the value 10 here, 10 less than 20. So it will iterate from 10 to 19 here. Why? Because 9 number of times, 10 number of times the loop will be iterated. So, so how this will happen is to be check with some sample code. So try to understand the code how the for loop is executed. So here, this is the for loop here. So try to. So just want to make it one more clear about this for loop. So we know how to write the syntax for creating the for loop along with 3 statements. One is the initialization, and the second one will be the condition on this one part. The third one will be the increment or decrement, whatever it may be. So he just I'm just want to try to implement the value by one here. So if the condition is to the below code is to be executed, after the code is to be executed, again the value will be incremented. Then again check the condition. So this is how to bring the first statement. So just try to execute this code with the help of PERL command interpreter. So the name of the file name will be the for PL here. So here, so check here from 10 to 19, the output will be displayed. So this is very very well known about this small big thing. So here the next statement what we studied in our section, which is called as for each, which is very much familiar and very much useful while writing the Perl programming script here, which is a for each. This loop iterates over a list value and a set of control variables to the element in the list. So in order to iterate the elements in the list, just try to remember one thing. In order to eliminate the elements, iterate the elements in the list, then you go through for each. Whereas in the case of for, you are assigning just only for the numerical values, right? So if I'm initializing from I equal to 1, I less than 5, I plus plus. This is the actual condition what you are using. So if you want to iterate the elements in the list like arrays, so for that just simply you can use a for each loop here. So the for each here, whatever the list you have, then if the next element exists, then the block of code is to be executed. Otherwise, if the element is not exist, then out of the loop. See here, just simple example. It's very simple example, which is very much. See here, at the rate represents the array. The name of that array will be the list here. I am asking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just in order to iterate the list from starting index to the ending index, you just need to one loop, which is called as for each. Instead of I am using for each of variable name within the brackets list name. That list is to be copied into the particular any one of the variable. Just need to initialize like this dollar of a. So each and every element is to be copied to this variable. So just you just simply just print that value here. So here whenever this 2 appears, the value is to be copied in a variable. So that is to be printed. The value of a equal to. As the same way, it goes through the list. So you just not simply iterate. You are not sending any condition here for I equal to 1, I less than 10, I plus 1. Just simply assigning the complete list to a particular one variable. It will iterate throughout the list from starting index to the last index. Here the starting index will be 2. It will print 2. So it will here it will not check any conditions here. We just go through the loop unless and until all the elements will appear. Simple. So just try to understand this exam. Try to understand this example with the following sample code here. So here the representation of that for each will be like this. So just I am assigning at the rate here. At the rate symbol means variable types. Second type of variable, which is called as array variable. So 2, 20, 30, 40, and 50 will be the list of elements that I have in my array. Just I want to iterate the list of elements through control structures at any one of the loops. So here for loop, if for loop you are not for I equal to 1, I less than 5, I plus plus, those things will not be needed while if you are using this for each. This for each is special meant for iteration over the list. So it's just simply for each keyword along with the variable name. So within the brackets, send your array name of the array. So at the rate of list, so it will copy all the elements here. For each and every time the iteration, the values to be printed with respect to this variable. So 2, 20, 30, and 40, 50. So this is how to execute your the second one, which is called as for each statement. So which is very much useful while retrieving the data elements from the database. So parallel space. So here the code is parallel space for each dot pl here. So 2, 20, 30, 40, and 50. So now, so this is all about your for each. So the next iterative statement, the next control structure, which is called as the do while here. So you know the do while. At least one statement is to be executed. After then only will check the condition is true or not. The same concept here also. The way of representing the do while statements in the parallel programming script is very much similar to your previous programming language like C and C++. So this is the syntax to write your do while here. Do will be the keyword, the bracket will open. State what are the statements you just made, that statement is to be right here at the end of the bracket. So you write the condition along with the while keyword and with the semicolon. So the same concept here also. Here this flowchart for representing the do while statement here. When at least one time the statement is to be executed before checks the condition. So for that, just check the condition, write the program which is respective to the do while execution. So here I am initializing the variable a, which is equal to the 10 value 10. I just want to do which is the value of a. It will not check any condition, but it will print one thing, value of a equal to 10, and the value is to also be to be incremented. After that, the condition is checked. After that, the condition is check whether the condition is true or not. So here the 11 less than 20. So here this statement is printed before checks the condition. That is the reason why you are using the do while statement. So the same concept here also applicable. So try to execute this do while statement here first, for each is over. So here the do while is similarly the keyword for representing this do while will be this one, do of print value of a equal to dollar of a slash n. It will print the value 10 here, and the value is also to be implemented. After that, the condition is checked 11 less than 20, not 10 less than 20. Why? Because I am implementing here. So here, if you want to just execute the statement at least, then you go for the do while loop. So now try to putting this code. So for getting this code, the name of the variable will be the do while. So now parallel space, the program name itself will be parallel space do while dot here, the extension along with the file. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and up to the 19 here. So this is the loop, control structure loop that I am using with the help of the do while statement. So this is all about do while. You know very well about the do while statement. Now we will start with another one, which is called as nested loop. Nested. Here the nested loop is nothing but you can write the loop within the loop. A loop can be nested inside the other loop, and then that loop is called it as a nested loop. Here here also you may write for within the for. Sometimes you may write while within for. So the things according to your condition. So you may use the loop within the loop. You may use while within the do while, or you may write for within the whatever the content will be. So here nested for loop here I am using here for within the for here. So the for, initially we have one condition. Along with that, if the condition is satisfying, again they will check for the other condition as the same way. Nested while loop, while within the while here. So as the same way, nested do while. Nested do while, you may represent your loop by using this nested do while as the same way nested until loop. So according to your conditions, based on upon your script, logical script, then you need to write, you may represent your loop in the nested nature. So try to remember this one. And the same way nested for each representation. So how many types of nested loops are there? Then you can write all those things: nested for, nested one, nested do one, nested until, nested for each. So this is so many number of examples are there which are related to your nested thing. So I just take one or two examples, one or two examples which are related to your nested for each loop. So try to understand the sample example which is related to your nested loop here. So here I'm assigning dollar of a which is equal to zero, dollar of b which is equal to zero. Here I just want to write the loop with the help of the while loop here. So while loop here. So nested while within the while. So this is the outer while loop, and this the second loop will be called as inner while loop. So here I just want to make it as try to understand the code. Here I am assigning 0, 0, 0 less than 3. Whenever the 0 less than 3, the b value again initialized to the 0. If this condition is satisfied, then only if the condition is not satisfying, simply it will get into this session. Dollar of a is equal to dollar of a plus 1. Then the value is to be printed. If the condition is true only, then it will initialize 0 to the particular b variable. And again, that condition is to be checked with the help of this value 0 less than 3. If it is true, then the value a and b value will be printed. The b value is iterated. This inner loop is executed unless and until this condition is fails. Once here this while is executed once, and then inner while is executed 3 times. At the same way, this unless and until this b dollar of b less than 3 statement condition fails. If it is fails, then it come out of the loop and it again increment the value, and again go through the inner loop, check the condition. Likewise, inner loop will execute. So here, this is the actual output what we have while you executing this statement here. So check here. So actually, what I am saying is we have two loops. One is outer loop, and the first one is the inner loop. So here, 3 times the value is to be printed. What is the purpose of getting these values? This is the while dollar of a. So here, let us try to remember the while dollar of a. So check here. Dollar of a less than 3 means this loop iterates how many times? 3 times. So that reason, this is the first time, and this is the second time, and this is the third time. So in the first time, again you are writing another loop. In that loop, I just want to the print values of a and b. In how many times? Again 3 times. So for that reason, this is the first dollar of a iteration. Outer, this is outer loop. In the outer loop, you are writing the while loop for again inner loop. In that inner loop, I again can write the condition with how many number of times? 3 times. For each and every time, just want to print the a value and b value. So for that reason, so if dollar of a less than 3 means the first iteration, in that first iteration goes to the inner loop. If the condition, unless and until the condition is satisfying, the values of a and b will printed. A and b will printed. A is equal to 0, b equal to 0, a equal to 0, b equal to 1, a equal to 0, b equal to 2. After this loop terminates, the value is incremented by 1. That again the a value is printed. So for that reason, the value is incremented to 1. The value is printed 1, a equal to 1. This is all about the first iteration in the first outer loop. When the value returns to the second in the outer loop, the a value becomes 1. Check here the difference. A value is equal to 1. The b value starts with 0. So here the loop, again this loop, why I'm getting b value is equal to 0. Just try to understand, whenever this inner loop starts, the b value initializes to 0 itself only. For that reason, if the outer loop iterates for the second time, the a value becomes 1, the b value becomes 0. This will iterate unless and until up to here. So after getting the false condition, the inner loop came out of the loop, and the value will becomes 2 here. So just for information, just want to print this statement, these two statements. So for the third iteration, the value will become 2, and again the value will start from 0, 0, 1, 2. Again the value will have, the value will have 3. So finally, just try to remember one thing. The nested loop is very much useful while displaying the pattern series 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, like that, or again like the variables like this. So try to understand the code, how to execute. The only one simple thing: if the condition is satisfied, the inner loop will iterate. How many times? Specify the condition, and n number of times that value is to be printed. As the same way, if the condition is fails, came out of the loop, again the outer loop execution will start, checks the condition. If it is satisfied, again go through the inner loop, iterate the concept, again came out of the loop, and again checks the condition. If it is satisfied, again go through the inner loop unless and until conditions will fail. Whenever this condition is failed, the value will be printed. So now try to check this code with the help of this one, nested.pl here. The name of that code will be nested.pl here. So nested.pl, name of that, and then will be the nested.pl here. So now try to execute the code. Yes. So name of that file name will be PERL space nested.pl. So nested.pl will be the name. So here try to, after executing it will, so this part will get outer loop of first iteration, this part will from outer loop of second iteration, and this part will have the outer loop of third iteration. So in the first iteration, again we have another 3 times of iterations. We will check the condition with A and B. So A equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. So likewise the output will be displayed. So now let us move with another concept. Here up to here we are finish off with all the control structures, root control structures. Along with that, we have the control statements is also there. Just in order to skip from one place to another place, they are introducing so many number of control statements are there. We can call it as control structures. Here we can call it as control statements. Here in between the control structures, we are using these control statements in order to control the flow of executions. So for each, while, do while, until, and nested, these 6 statements we can call it as control structures here, or looping statements. We can call it as looping statements or parallel looping concepts. In that loops, we may use different set of statements, which is called a control statements, which is useful to skip the location, or useful to jump the location from one place to another place with the help of these control statements. Here we have 6 different types of statements in control statements. One is the next statement, last, continue. Here this one will be the next statement. So what will happen if I am using in between the loops? So that will be explained with the help of example. At the same way, the last here. So the last statement here. So in the previous class, you just go through the one. Just remind one thing. There you are appearing next statement. సో ఆ టైంలో నేను చెప్పాను, మీకు ఫర్దర్ వచ్చే క్లాసెస్ లో మనం నెక్స్ట్ మాట్లాడుకుంటాం. సో అక్కడ మనం నెక్స్ట్ అనే ఒక కాన్సెప్ట్ యూజ్ చేసి మన ప్రోగ్రామ్ కోడ్ రాసాం. యాజ్ ద సేమ్ వే హియర్ ఆల్సో these statements we can call it as the control statements అని పిలుస్తామండి. So here these control statements are next, last statement, continue statement, redo, and go to statements. So here directly we just go to the next statement here. So simply the syntax for writing the next statement will be the next of label here. This is a flow chart for representing the next here. Just try to understand this flow chart, then you will clearly understand what will happen if the code is to be written with the help of this control statement within the control structure. Control structure lone vaartanu. Simply here, if the condition is true, the block of code is executed. In that, I just write to the next. It will continues the thing. So whatever the thing that you is continuing. So if the condition is getting the false, it will came out of the loop. Just try to understand with this example, then you will clearly understand what is about to write. Here, just I am simply making as dollar of a equal to 10, which means I am assigning the value a equal to 10. Checks the condition. That condition will be 10 less than 20, which is true. Again, I'm using the conditional statements. I'm checking whether after this condition is satisfying. Again, in that conditional statements, if the condition statement is satisfying, means 10, which is equal to 15. this is not satisfying the condition, right? These conditional statements will not satisfy the condition. The loop will satisfy the condition. ఈ లూప్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవ్వాలి అంటేనే ఫస్ట్ ఈ కండిషన్ సాటిస్ఫై అవ్వాలి అయిందండి 10 less than 20 ట్రూ బట్ ఇన్ దట్ లూప్ వీఆర్ యూజింగ్ ది కండిషనల్ స్టేట్మెంట్స్. మనం ఆల్రెడీ సి కానీ సి ప్లస్ కానీ చదువుకున్నప్పుడు క్లియర్ గా చెప్పుకుంటాం. యూ మే యూజ్ ది కాంబినేషన్ ఆఫ్ కండిషనల్ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ ఎలా ఉంటుందో కంట్రోల్ స్టేట్మెంట్స్. అంటే మనం లూప్స్ యూజ్ చేసినప్పుడు కండిషనల్ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ యూజ్ చేయకూడదని రూల్ ఏం లేదు. According to your functionality, according to your programming needed, you may write conditional statements within the control statements or control statements within the conditional statements. One purpose here, just I want to make it as my simple code as I check the condition. If that is true, I check the conditional statements with the using of if it is true only, this part of code is executed, right? అంతే కదా. జనరల్ గా మన కండిషన్ అంటే ఏమనుకున్నాం, ఇఫ్ ద కండిషన్ ఈస్ ట్రూ ద ఫాలోయింగ్ బ్లాక్ ఆఫ్ కోడ్ ఇస్ టు బి ఎగ్జిక్యూటెడ్, అదర్వైజ్ ఇట్ విల్ కేమ్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ ది లూప్. యాక్చువల్ గా మీకు తెలిసి ఏంటంటే ఇఫ్ ది కండిషన్ ఫెయిల్ అయింది కాబట్టి ఆటోమేటిక్ గా ఏమని ప్రింట్ అవ్వాలంటే ద వాల్యూ ఆఫ్ ఏ ఈస్ 10 అని ప్రింట్ అయ్యి డాలర్ ఆఫ్ ఏ విచ్ డాలర్ ఆఫ్ ఏ ప్లస్ విచ్ ఈస్ ఈక్వల్ టు 1 అంటే ఇట్ విల్ ఇంక్రిమెంట్స్ ది వాల్యూ. సో నెక్స్ట్ జనరల్ గా చెప్పాను, ఇప్పుడు మనం జనరల్ గా చెప్పుకోండి కండిషన్ ఏమవుతుంది ట్రూ అయితే ఈ పార్ట్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది, లేదంటే బయటకు రావాలి. కానీ ఇక్కడ హియర్ ఐ ఆమ్ యూజింగ్ ద నెక్స్ట్ కంట్రోల్ స్టేట్మెంట్ హియర్ విచ్ ఈస్ యూస్ఫుల్ టు సీ హియర్. ఇఫ్ 10 విచ్ ఈస్ ఈక్వల్ 15 ఫాల్స్ అయితే డైరెక్ట్ ఎక్కడికి రావాలండి, ఇక్కడికి రావాలి. వచ్చేసింది ఏ వాల్యూ ఎంత 10, ద వాల్యూ విల్ బి ఇంక్రిమెంటెడ్ 1, రైట్ గుడ్. ఫస్ట్ కండిషన్ మనం అనుకున్నట్టే జరిగింది. నెక్స్ట్ 11 less than 20, ఓకే కండిషన్ ట్రూ, ఇది ఫాల్స్ అయింది 11 వచ్చింది. నెక్స్ట్ 12 అయింది ఏ వాల్యూ 12 less than 20, 12 which is equal to 15 అవ్వలేదు, స్కిప్ అయ్యింది. నెక్స్ట్ స్టేట్మెంట్ కి ప్రతిసారి ఏం జరుగుతుందండి, స్కిప్ అయ్యి బయటకు వచ్చినప్పుడు డైరెక్ట్ గా నెక్స్ట్ స్టేట్మెంట్ నెక్స్ట్ అంటే ఇట్ విల్ మూవ్ టు ద నెక్స్ట్ వన్, నెక్స్ట్ ఇటరేషన్ అన్నమాట. స్కిప్ ది నెక్స్ట్ ఇటరేషన్ వెళ్ళిపోయింది, బయటకు వచ్చేసి ఎక్కడికి వెళ్ళింది డాలర్ ఆఫ్ ఏ ఈక్వల్ టు 13, 12 ప్రింట్ అవుద్ది, వాల్యూ 13 కాపీ అయింది. 13 which is equal to 15 ఈక్వల్ అవ్వాలా. నెక్స్ట్ 14 which is equal to 15 ఈక్వల్ అవ్వాలా. 15 which is equal to 15, now the condition will satisfy. Whenever this condition is satisfying, ఇది ఒకసారి ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది. ఎప్పుడండి ఏ వాల్యూలో 15 కాపీ అయినప్పుడు మాత్రమే this loop will execute. 15 which is equal to 15, the condition is satisfying, right? If the condition is satisfying, what will happen, increment the a value, means a value will becomes 16, then it will not ask, it will directly send next statement here. This next statement will forward అంటే ఈ 15 ఈ పార్ట్ ప్రింట్ అవ్వకుండా డైరెక్ట్ గా వైల్ లూప్ లైక్ ఎంత పాస్ చేస్తుంది, 16 పాస్ చేసినప్పుడు అంటే ఈ స్టేట్మెంట్ ని మనం స్కిప్ చేసాం అనమాట. ఎలా స్కిప్ చేయగలిగాం, ఈ కండిషన్ సాటిస్ఫై అయినప్పుడు ఏ వాల్యూ ఇంక్రిమెంట్ చేసి దాన్ని ప్రింట్ చేయకుండా నెక్స్ట్ ఇటరేషన్ కి మూవ్ అవ్వమని చెప్పాం. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద థింగ్ ఇట్ విల్ హ్యాపెన్. 10, 11, 12, 13 it will skip the 15. If you want to skip any one of the statement in your program, just use next statement in your logic. There either conditional statements or control statements. So this is how to write your next here. So try to execute that code with the help of this next. So next కి సంబంధించిన మనకి already we have the example next.pl here. So try to execute this code. So next.pl. So the program name itself will be the next.pl here. See here 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 will skip, 16, 17, 18 and 19. This is the program what I am executing with the help of this next here. The same program what we are discussing, that program is to be represented here. So if we have 15 which is equal to 15, whenever the 15 will appears, it will increment the value, but it will not bring the next statements here. Next means na tarvata, whatever the next statements after these conditional statements here, print and incrementation. Already I increment the value here, just these two statements will be skipped. After skip this iteration, then it will not come here also. Here only itself it will skip. Whenever the next iteration appears, then the a value is incremented, the value to carry forward to the particular this one 16 less than 20, again 16 which is not equal to 15, it will not execute. It will execute this one value of a equal to 16, and it will make the value which is equal to 17. Then it will check with the 17 condition, and so on. 19 will appear. This is how to execute your next statement in your program. So now let us having the clear discussion about after the next. You have so many things are there by using the next statements here. Another example is also there. So with the help of this next, by with the help of the label also you may represent by using your next statement. So here I'm not using any label here. In the second example, just try to make it as with a label. You may write your next statement with the help of this one. So whenever you are specifying this label here, then the iteration will carry forward to particular label here. So let us try to understand this code. So here, while a less than 4, here 0 less than 4, which is the true condition, b will initialize to 0, the value of a will printed is 0. Again, I am making that as a two different labels here, outer label and inner label. Just where to shift that location is to be specified with the help of this label concept here. Just instead after writing the next, you just specify the label name. Whenever this label name is appearing, the cursor, the iteration will carry forward to the particular label here. It is specifying inner and outer two different labels here. I just want to make it into the jump to the outer loop here. For that reason, I am using it. So where this is useful while you are writing, particularly where the code is to be jumping. So here I am specifying with the outer label. Here I am specifying with the inner label. This whenever this condition is satisfying, just simply it will jump to the particular location. That location is to be specified with the help of this label here. That is the syntax what we are discussing in the previous session. So previously we are discussing the syntax for either you may write the next statement. If it is the next statement, just immediately before the next statement loop is executed, if you are specifying the label name, particularly to that label, the iteration is to be a jump from that location to the particular label location. Here, the particular label location will be the outer label. So this is the second example, which is similar to your the next statement also. Here, the next one will be the last here. When the last statement is uncurved inside the loop, it is immediately terminated and the program control resume the next statement following the loop. Very simple. So here also the concept representation of last will be either the last keyword or along with the, if you are representing the last, it will immediately proceed with the recent one. Whereas if you are specifying the label name, then particularly it will move on to the particular label. Same what we are discussing with respect to the next. So here the last is encoded inside the loop. The loop is immediately terminated and the program control resumes at the next statement following the loop. A loop lo unna next statement ni follow avadam jarugindi. So this is the example. Just try to understand this example. Dollar of a is equal to 10. I am initializing with the 10. So 10 less than 20 is the same example what we have last here. Instead of next, I am using the last here. So 10 less than 20 condition is true. 10 equal to 15 false. So 10 will print. Next. So this is not executed when up to 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 15 will appear. So whenever the fourth iteration, I mean fifth iteration, 15 less than 20, 15 which is equal to 15, then this conditional statements will execute. Here the last is useful to terminate out of the inner loop and chapter kada. So just it will came out of the ఈ లూప్ నుంచి బయటకు వచ్చేసిందంటే పర్టికులర్ గా 15 తర్వాత మళ్ళీ ఇంప్లిమెంటేషన్ ఏం జరగదండి. జస్ట్ సింప్లీ కంప్లీట్ గా మొత్తం ఈ ఇఫ్ నుంచి మొత్తం ఈ వైల్ నుంచి కూడా బయటకు రావడం జరిగింది. మొత్తం బయటకు వచ్చేసాం అంటే అక్కడ నుంచి ఎండ్ పర్టికులర్ గా కండిషన్ సాటిస్ఫై అవ్వగానే మొత్తం బయటకు లూప్ నుంచి బయటకు వచ్చేయాలనుకుంటే సింపుల్ గా లాస్ట్ యూజ్ చేయండి అంతే. సో ఇన్ దిస్ కేస్ వాట్ విల్ హ్యాపెన్, initially a value will be the 10 while condition will satisfy unless and until where 15 less than 20 is also condition satisfying for the while loop. ఎప్పుడైతే మీరు ఇన్నర్ లూప్ లో కండిషనల్ స్టేట్మెంట్ రాసారో 15 is equal to 15 ఎప్పుడైతే అవుతుందో మీరు లూప్ నుంచి మొత్తం టెర్మినేట్ అయిపోమన్నారు. మొత్తం టెర్మినేట్ అయిపోమన్నారు అంటే కొంచెం బయటకు వచ్చేయమన్నారు అంటే whereas if you write the next statement రాసారనుకోండి అప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది 16 నుంచి ప్రింట్ అయింది. You write the last statement here, if it came out of the complete loop, that's why we can write last year the output will be displayed 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 only by because I've used the last statement. So now try to execute this one. So the name of the program name itself will be the last year. So So now this is the code what we're discussing up to now. So the same code is to be copied here in edit place. So try to execute this code with the help of this one. Mm, the name of that code will be the parent space last.pl here. So see here 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Why? Because whenever you are writing the last statement, it will came out of the loop here. So this is all about your last statement. As the same way you may represent with the help of the what label concept here. So just simply you can make it as outer loop or inner loop. From where you just want to came out of the loop, you need to specify either by inner or outer loop. So if the condition is satisfying here, this the condition is satisfying just came out of the outer loop. So means if the condition is satisfying this one, if the condition is satisfying, whenever this condition is satisfied, it will terminate throughout the outer loop. For that reason, the output will be displayed 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Why? Because so you are specifying along with label. You may write either simply by using last keyword, or otherwise you may specify by using label. If the label, if you just want to make it as a label, just try to represent with the outer label. This is the outer label here, and this one will be the inner label. Just here, the same concept here also. I just initialize to 0, and I just want to print the value of a. After printing the value of a, I just want to again go through this iteration through b variable g0 less than 4. Whenever the a value becomes the 2, it will get out of the loop here. So means it will iterate 2 times here. So a will be 0, the b will be iterated 4 times. If the a value will be 1, the b value iterates 4 times. So if the whenever the a value will becomes 2, it will came out of the outer loop. The outer loop contains initialization of b value and the printing of a value along with the b value. So these whole things will be skipped because of this outer label. So this is the example. So if you have checked this sample code here, the value of a, initially the value of a becomes 0. If the condition is satisfying, the b value iterates four times. As the same way, if the a value becomes 1, the value will be iterates four number of times. If the a value becomes 2, then I just want to skip out of the outer loop. For that reason, I am using here, if the a becomes 2, last of outer. Simply if this condition is executes only when a value becomes 2, and it will skip throughout of the completely out of the outer loop. So this is all about your last statement. So the remaining we have continue, and the 2 more things are redo and go to is there. Those things will be discussed in the next class. So today's sessions we conclude this concept up to today. So we know in this class we're discussing about the control structures like for each, while, do while, nested loops, and until. So along with that, we have the control statements are there. Those statements will be the next and last statements. The remaining part will be discussed in the next class. So today's finish of this session up to here. So thank you for getting into the session. To be continued in the next section. Thank you.